Well, hello there. My name is Andrew Michael. I am the team leader for the Coastal Haven Group here in beautiful Northeast Florida. We are your go-to agents for everything in the Jacksonville metro area. And today I'm going to talk about something that may surprise a lot of you. If you're watching this video, you're probably considering moving to Northeast Florida. And it doesn't mean Jacksonville specifically. Maybe you're looking at Nocatee, which is one of the most popular master plan communities in our country. Maybe you're looking at Silverleaf. Maybe you're looking at Amelia Island. These are all in the Jacksonville metro area or around it. But in this video, we're going to talk about something that surprises many people who do not live here. And is sometimes people actually move out of the city of Jacksonville, out of the Jacksonville area. It's true. In fact, in the 10 plus years that I have been working as a realtor in this area, I've helped some people move in. And then I've helped those same people or other people move out. And so I have a pretty good idea of why people would move here and then leave or just leave altogether. So without further ado, let's jump on in. Okay, so when we go into why people leave, the obvious, most common answer that I'm not going to go into is sometimes people have family issues. Sometimes people have other things that have nothing to do. They could have moved here. They could have moved to Alaska. It doesn't matter. Case in point, I've had young retirees come here and then their young adult children get married, have kids. Well, now they want to go live near the grandkids. So they go. I've had that happen several times. It really has nothing to do with Jacksonville or the metro area per se. It's family things. Or, obviously if you're in the military and you get orders, well, they call them orders for a reason. You get them, you're gone. So that's another reason. But we're going to skip that stuff and we're just going to stick to things that I hear often from people who leave and that are things that they've made the decision themselves to go. There's no external factors making them. So the number one reason I hear is increased development and population growth. So what does that mean? Well, when we moved here, meaning my family and I, in 2014, we came up from Fort Lauderdale. Now, my wife, Lindsay, and I are native Floridians. We're born and raised in the great state of Florida, but we're from the suburbs just outside of Fort Lauderdale. However, when we got married, we decided, we wanted to raise kids, we wanted to do this and that, and it just felt like Fort Lauderdale wasn't really the place for us, so we decided to move up here. Now, at that time, we actually don't live in the city of Jacksonville. We live in unincorporated St. Johns County. So it's north of St. Augustine's Historic District, but a little bit south of the city of Jacksonville. We picked it for a number of reasons, but one of them is when we got here, I want to say it was rural. It was definitely rural compared to where I came from in Fort Lauderdale, but it wasn't really rural per se. So we had a grocery store, but it took like 20 to actually about 30 minutes to get there. I mean, everything was a minimum of 30 to 45 minutes to get to it. Office supplies, groceries, whatever it is you needed if you couldn't get it on Amazon, which you can get everything on Amazon, I guess. But it was semi-rural and there was a lot of green space. Well, now that's starting to change. And, I honestly don't think, now I'm probably in the minority here, but I don't think the traffic in Jacksonville is getting worse. If anything, because as the population has grown, they've added like the 9B, they've added connectors, they've done all this different stuff. They opened up express lanes on 295. So in my humble opinion, they have kept up with the traffic. Now, is there traffic in Jacksonville? Yes, there definitely is. But I don't think that part's getting worse. And I don't think that's what's causing people to leave. I think it's the other things. So for instance, where I mentioned when we first moved here, it was a lot greener, meaning a lot more trees, a lot more undeveloped land. Well, that's all changing. Now they've bulldozed a lot of it and are building communities, whether they're master plan communities or, regular neighborhoods or whatever. But they've definitely torn down a lot of the green space. Now, it still is way more here in St. Johns County than Jacksonville and some other places. But you also see the population growth in other places. So, for instance, you go to the beach. There's more people there. So one of the neat things about our area is that you can actually drive on the beach. By the way, don't drive out on the beach if you do not have a full four-wheel drive vehicle with tires with decent treads. If you don't have those two things, do not drive on the beach. There's literally a Facebook group for people to make fun of people who get stuck on the beaches here. So don't be on there. But in any case, we go out, drive on the beach, have fun, whatever. Well, over time, on holiday weekends and some other times, you actually have to get there fairly early, because if you don't, the beach fills up and the sheriff's department will actually stop anybody else from driving out on the beach until more people leave. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. But it does happen. So it's stuff like that you feel. Again, you go to the beach, there's more people. You go shopping, there's more people. Stuff like that. So I do think that is a pretty common reason for people to leave, especially people who are born and raised here. They just feel like it's not the same as when where they grew up, and they go somewhere else. Of course, wherever else they go to is not the same as where they grew up either, but whatever. So I would say that that's the number one reason, I think, especially if people have been here for a long period of time, that they leave, is because of the population growth and how that translates. And it's not just Jacksonville, by the way, either. We don't have them in this area, but in the central part of the state of Florida, they have a lot of freshwater springs with beautiful crystal clear water. It's 72 degrees year round. Well, it used to be you could just kind of show up whenever you wanted at one of those and do it. Well, now if it's a holiday weekend or other things, you have to get there early in the morning. Otherwise, and it didn't used to have much population in the center part of the state, other than Orlando and places like that. But when you went outside of that, it was pretty rural and there wasn't a lot of people. Well, now there is. And so that's probably a result of COVID and all the people moving down here from other places. So again, number one reason would be overpopulation development, kind of what that has spilled into. Next up is going to be heat and humidity. We have it, and we have a lot of it. Now, the one thing, when I looked up the averages for our area, it said something about 80 degrees, 85, 90 degrees, and there's no way that's true. It is very often that I'm driving around in my truck and I see it's over 100 degrees outside. So yes, it does get hot, and yes, it's very humid. Now, that being said, the closer to the beach you are, the better it is. So as a crow flies, we live very close to the ocean. We're not on the beach, like on the ocean, but we live very close to it. So when I'm walking the dog, when I'm out going for a run, that kind of stuff, there is a decent breeze that makes it a little cooler. On the other hand, when I go to Orlando, we went a few summers ago, we went to Disney Springs, I think it is. It's the shopping area out there. And it was horrible. I mean, the heat, it was just really bad. And just in my opinion, I don't have any science to back this up, but when I'm over there as opposed to here, I definitely feel more of a breeze in this area, in the Jacksonville area, just because we are so close to the beach. So that's kind of nice. But there's no two ways around it. It is hot and it is humid. Now, one other thing about that too, and caveat, if you go to we actually do get a little bit of a decent temperature change here. So in the wintertime, it will get a little cooler. Now, it doesn't snow, not like real snow. I want to say one of the first years we moved here in 2014. So 2014, 2015, something like that. It did, it in theory snowed, but if you're watching this from up north, considering moving here, which you probably are, you would laugh at us. It was so bad. In fact, most of the real estate agents were we were on this Facebook page, and we were all like, okay, it's snowing in this neighborhood, but not that neighborhood. And by the time the snow hit the ground, it was gone. So it wasn't like a real snow. That's the only snow that it's done since I've been here that I can remember. So it does get cold enough to snow in theory. It just doesn't. But it can get down in the 30s and 40s in the Jacksonville area in the wintertime. So at least we don't have that heat and humidity all year. We do have some seasons. And when I say that too, we don't get like a beautiful fall like in Vermont or something. You're not going to see like all the palm trees turn red or something, But like you see all the trees turn red up in Vermont or up north. You're not going to get that. But you do get a cooler temperature here. So it's not as bad as other parts of the state, in my opinion, particularly the southern parts or the central Florida. But we do get a lot of heat and humidity here, and for some people it is too much. Okay, number 3 is going to be mosquitoes and pests. Yes, we have those too. The thing about mosquitoes is, though, in my opinion, they're everywhere. I mean, I was in Alaska and they had them. Like, granted, it was the summertime, but they have them everywhere you go. In fact, I don't know. I'm sure someone's going to put a comment down below of a place in the world that doesn't have mosquitoes. That's great. But by and large, most places, I think we could agree, have mosquitoes and have insects. Yeah, it can be a bit of an issue. The thing is, what we do with that is, number one, I just have a can of Off, the spray in my truck. So if we're going to the beach, we're going somewhere that's windy, it's really not an issue. You don't have to worry about them. But if you're going, there are some wooded areas that have them though. For instance, I am a member of a men's fitness group. We were rucking, with an R, out in the woods one day. And what that is, if you're not familiar, is most of us are reliving our old glory days in the military, but you have a weighted pack. You know, it never occurred to me when I was in the Marine Corps that one day I would be paying money to put weight in a pack and walk around with it of my own free will, but yet here we are living the dream. But anyway, so we had it, we were in Nocatee, we were going down to the kayak launch, and the mosquito, even with off and all that stuff sprayed on us, the bugs were so bad, we just turned around and left, and we just stayed on the parkway and just kept walking. So, yeah, so the bugs are a real thing, but it kind of depends on where you go. If you're going like out in a swampy area, like that is, yeah, you're going to get a lot of bugs. The other thing is too, most of us have a service, like if you have a single family home, most of us have a service that'll treat the grass, and they'll come into the house and treat the house periodically too. So they use chemicals and things that are safe for the house, and out in the yard they'll spray for like fire ants or whatever it is. So you can also too, in St. Johns County, you can also call the mosquito control. Now I live on a preserve, meaning there's woods behind my house and it's owned by the HOA, so it'll never be built on. They'll come out there and spray the stuff. There's companies who do it, they'll charge you for it. But I've called the county, the mosquito control, and they came out and did it for me. So anyway, but yeah, that is one common reason people do not, well, nobody likes the mosquitoes and the bugs, but some people just find them intolerable and they leave. So, okay, number 4, and I think this is pretty consistent everywhere in the southern United States. Public transportation is somewhat limited. That is definitely true. I think there did used to be a subway in Jacksonville years ago, but there isn't now. Now there is like a little metro thingy that takes you to a few places, but nobody rides it. If you move to Northeast Florida, you are going to need an automobile. There's no two ways around it. My buddy, my best friend, been best friends since first grade, he lives up in Washington, D.C., and he refers to his car as an escape pod. And what he means by that is he never drives it in D.C., but he can walk just about anywhere. And if he does need to go somewhere else, he just takes a subway or something. And parking's a pain up there. So, if he takes the car, he's leaving the area he's traveling, i.e. escaping. Here, you're going to need your car. Now, if that's important to you, you want something with some other type of transportation, best bet might be a master plan community. So what is that? We've done several videos on those, like Nocatee, Seven Pines, Silverleaf. Be sure to check those videos out and those playlists out, and we're always adding to them. But what those communities are is they have the houses, obviously, but then they put in the medical. They put in the, when I say medical, I mean doctor's offices, outpatient procedures, your day-to-day stuff. Probably not a full-out emergency room hospital, although maybe. But they do have other things like minute clinics, that kind of thing. They have your day-to-day shopping. So grocery store, Publix, which is the big one we have here. Dry cleaning, some of them have movie theaters, bars, restaurants, and they're all within the community. Now, there's obviously no subway, but you could jump on your golf cart, and take that there. So if that's something that you want, your master plan communities may be your best bet. But I really don't see, other than people who live in like an assisted living and advanced in age, those communities actually do have stuff for them. But everybody else living here, I don't see how you could live here without it having at least one vehicle in your family. Most have 2, obviously, or more. But yeah, so limited public transportation is definitely a reason why people do not stay in the Jacksonville. Another one is the rising cost of living. Cost of living here is going up. Now, in some ways, yes, in some ways, no. The cost of housing is obviously going up, but that's true anywhere. I don't know of too many places that don't have higher groceries, higher cost of groceries, higher cost of fuel, higher cost of just about anything. So the one thing, though, that we don't have here that other people do, I followed because Texas, I would call Texas a competing state when it comes to buyers relocating to that area. Because if you're considering Florida, you may also be, depending on why you're coming here, but you may also be considering Texas as another state. Well, their property taxes, number 1, are way higher than ours. And number 2, we have homestead exemption. And now I'm not an attorney. Don't interpret this as practicing law, but what I can tell you is if it's your primary residence. So we bought our house in 2014 for $285,000. And don't hate me, but we bought it for $285,000. Today I could probably sell it for around $600,000, give or take. But I'm still only taxed as if it was around $285,000. Well, why is that? Because with the homestead exemption, number one, it deducts $50,000 in not in what you pay the government, but in the equity, the taxable equity of your home. So that's make it down to $235,000. Now I also get a little bit because I have a disability from the military. It's combat related. Get a little bit off there too. But long story short, they can only increase. So even if the government acknowledges, or the county government acknowledges, that my house is worth $600,000, they're still only taxing me as if it was worth $230,000. So, and the reason for that, as I understand it, was Florida has been a retirement mecca forever. People have come here to retire probably since Florida was a state in the 1850s. Well, what would happen is, somebody would sell their house in New Jersey, move down to a house on the beach in Florida. It's super cheap, awesome. Well, over time, condos popped up, this popped up, that popped up. Well, at that time, their $5,000 house is now worth $200,000 and they can't afford the taxes, so they have to sell the house. So in order to change that, now that's my understanding, I could be wrong, but that's why they changed it. And so it's okay, that couple who bought their house for $5,000, as long as it's their primary residence and they have declared homestead, which if you buy a house with us, we will help you. In fact, I'll start blowing up your phone around January, February if I see that you haven't done that yet. And there's people who have worked with us watch this video, they'll laugh because they know that's true. So, but anyway, so that's a homestead exemption, and that will help. Now, if the tax rate goes up, you still may end up paying more, but the taxable value of your home is capped with that. Now, that doesn't count for investment properties, obviously not rentals. It has to be your primary residence. Okay, another one is schools. Now, again, when I say Jacksonville, I mean the metro area around Jacksonville. So you have Nassau County to the north, St. Johns County to the south, and you have Clay County to the west, and then you have some other stuff out there too. According to niche.com, schools in Jacksonville, the Duval County, which is the county for the city of Jacksonville, was rated 37. Now, I believe there's 67 counties in the state of Florida. So now, with that being said, they do have private schools, they do have charter schools, they have all these other options. I'm not guaranteeing that your children could get into one. You have to take care of that. But these things are there. Now, in the surrounding, but that is a common complaint with the city of Jacksonville, is the schools. Now, with that being said, if you go around Jacksonville, St. John's, niche.com also ranked St. Johns County to the south at number 2. Clay County, which again is in the west, at number 6, and then Nassau County was number 13 in the state of Florida. Now, when we go into that, I just want to say one thing real quick too. Is school, it really kind of depends on your student, your child, and what it is that they want to do, what their educational goals are. Some areas may be a better fit than others, but that is a common complaint that I hear, is the schools. Okay, we're coming to the end. We got 2 more to go, and the last one will probably not surprise you, but I'd be curious your take on it. I'm sure I'm going to get some hateful comments at the bottom for it. Next one up is crime, and this isn't the last one, by the way. Next one is. So Jacksonville and Miami supposedly vie back and forth for the murder capital of Florida. They do have quite a bit of violent crime. They do have property crimes. Now, that doesn't mean it's equally dispersed throughout the city, and it doesn't mean that everyone has for 14 years, I was a local law enforcement officer in Broward County, which is around the Fort Lauderdale area. The majority of my time was spent in a city called Dania Beach, which Dania Beach is just south of Fort Lauderdale, just north of Miami, for those of you who are not from Florida. Spent a lot of time. I worked road patrol and I worked street level narcotics, or street crimes. That's what they call those units. So this is something that I'm intimately familiar with. And what I can tell you is I would suggest the best thing for you to do is when you're scouting out an area. Now, when you come down here, before you come here, you can reach out to us. We will, if you already have a realtor, that's great. If you don't, either myself or one of our agents would love to help you. But one of the things we're going to do before you come down is we're going to go over different communities and kind of help you get a feel for what you want to see when you get here. While you're here, I'm going to suggest that you drive through the different communities at night. Why would you do that? Well, just so you can kind of get a feel for the community and if this is the kind of vibe or if this is kind of what you're looking for. And that could be good or bad. There's really no hard rule in that. I've had some people, some communities I wouldn't necessarily want to live in, but I've had them tell me that they're great. And I've had other ones that, vice versa. So, but that's my rule. And that's true in Florida. That's true anywhere, just from an ex-cop, if you're looking for it, advice. Definitely drive through a community at night and kind of sit there for a little bit. Kind of get a feel for the area, maybe talk to a neighbor. In some places, people in a lot of Northeast Florida are pretty friendly. So, if you see people coming from the neighborhood pool or coming from wherever, you can pull up to them and say, hey, I'm just curious, do you live here? I'm, think we're moving here from, wherever, just kind of there. And they'll almost always tell you the truth about the neighborhood. So that's one way. Another thing is now this website that you're about to see is strictly for the city of Jacksonville. They do a crime mapping software. How accurate is it? I don't know. I was never in law enforcement here, but you can take a look on there and see. Let's see, what else do we got? Oh, something else too. Registered sex offenders and sexual predators. The state of Florida maintains a database, so you can put in a zip code and you can see all the registered sex offenders and all the registered sexual predators. The difference between the two, if you're not familiar with it, is a sex offender has been arrested either in Florida or somewhere else for a qualifying sex-based offense. And a sexual predator, usually, it's been like over 10 years since I've made an arrest, but I believe it's 3 offenses, or maybe it's just 1 offense. It could be 1 offense, but the offense is so egregious that a judge moved them right up to sexual predator. But a sexual predator is either someone who's committed multiple offenses or 1 offense that is very egregious, more so than sex offenses. And so the judge made him a sexual predator. If you go onto and most states, by the way, have this website, I would think. The one thing you cannot do anymore that you used to be able to do is go to the Florida Department of Corrections and put in the zip code for people on probation. Can't do that anymore. I don't know why they took that away, but they did. I sent them an email asking them, and they gave me some government nonsense answer that's probably on their bulletin board or something. But anyway, so that is a good way to check. Look at the sex offenders, sexual predators that are in the area. If there's a crime map, kind of like Jacksonville provides, and the link is down in the description below, by the way, for that. Or if you're looking at a different county, you could see if that county has one too. But again, just drive the area at night, just check it out, talk to neighbors, kind of see if this is like your vibe. Is this the kind of people that you want to, live with, raise your kids with, be in the close proximity with, all that sort of thing. All right, last but not least. Now, this is not popping up on anything on Google when I did the research for this video, but I've talked to about 5 or 6 people this week who are looking to move in or move out of our area, so i.e. clients. But one of the reasons I find, and it's interesting, so Florida has always been, I don't get into politics, I'm not somebody who is all into that, and if you are, that's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong, but Florida has always been, ever since the Reconstruction period, I believe, has always been a slightly Democrat-controlled state. It was a very light shade of blue. And it didn't mean it always voted blue. It just means that if you looked at the number of registered voters, there tended to be more Democrats than Republicans. Well, during COVID and the mass migration that happened during that time period, we saw a lot of red voters move to the state and register to vote. So what I think personally has happened is it turned Florida from a slightly blue state to a slightly red state. Now, does that mean Florida always votes Republican? No, it doesn't. But it does mean that it tends to vote that way more. And I have seen a lot of residents who didn't like that. And you always kind of know, too, because it's kind of funny when they reach out to me for whatever, however it is they do it. Maybe they respond to one of my emails that go out to customers or, whatever it may be. And when I ask them, it's like, okay, well, why are you considering moving? I mean, some people are like, hey, I want to be closer to kids, or hey, I got a job transfer. But with the ones who are moving for what I think are probably political reasons, they don't have a hard, fast rule. They're just like, yeah, I'm just kind of tired of Florida. Think I'm going to go. And then they name a state that's definitely more left-leaning, which is fine. But so anyway, but that is, I think politics does play a part in why some people leave the great state of Florida and the Jacksonville metro area too. So there you go. That is all the reasons that I have seen that people are, leave the Jacksonville metro area of Florida. What do you think? Did I forget anything? If so, throw a comment down below. Also, too, we have lots of videos on this channel. Now, we have two different channels. One channel is strictly model tours. So we don't talk like we did on this channel, the video you just watched. Instead, on that channel, all we do is just tour model homes, homes that are for sale, stuff like that. That's all we do. The other channel, we take a look at neighborhoods. We have conversations like this one. And we divide those up into playlists. So if you want, like Nocatee, for instance, which is one of the most popular master plan communities, if you go into that playlist, you can watch me talking about all the shopping and going around and showing it and touring the neighborhoods and, anything you could ever want to know that you probably don't because you're somewhere else, in the country considering moving here. Definitely check out those playlists because over time, you'll probably get to know just about anything you could want to know about those communities and see just about all the model homes that's there. Also, too, we would absolutely love to help make your transition a smooth one. So give us a call, shoot us a text, or there's a link down below to register, and it'll go to either myself or one of the agents on the team. And we would be absolutely love to help you make your move to Florida a smooth one. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. My name is Andrew Michael, and I look forward to meeting you in person. Take care.